G'day listeners, welcome to Barkarati, the sailing podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week again this week to talk to some cool sailors, but also I've got to share the mic with my two idiot mates. So let's welcome first Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, Exalted One.
BP.
G'day world. How are you?
G'day, Bet. You all right there, Princess?
That's it today.
That's it. All right, I'll bring in the other bloke. Hang on.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Boss.
I can feel the enthusiasm just radiating out of my screen here. I've actually got to put up a couple of screens just to get multiple enthusiasms.
Yes, yes.
Two times in 1 week.
That's it.
All great stories. Been keeping an eye on the SailGP, actually.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
My prediction's out the window.
Out the window. Yes, we'll come back to that, I think. But
We shall.
Very big congratulations to the Northern Australians is the best way to describe it at the moment.
Northern Australians.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Anything we need to get into before we bring in our little guest?
Probably change that statement. Anything we need to get into? Well, we could get onto his warm-up video before we bring in our big guest.
No, right. This episode, of course, is just a little sort of 30-minute special that we're just throwing together just after our SailGP preview that we published on Friday. So for those who haven't been staying in touch, there's two episodes this week, and this one is just a little bit of a follow-up. But we did want to use it as an opportunity to. We've got an incredibly loyal listener who has been with the show from day one and throws a lot of energy at supporting the show. So he's got something going on around rescue swimmer certification, and he was talking to us about it. So we were quite keen to throw back some energy towards him and bring him onto the show to talk about this because, one, it's a good idea, and two, it's going to save lives. So we thought we'd introduce to you all Mr. John Schafer. Welcome to Barkarati, mate. How you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you? Down under.
Well, you probably are aware, John, given the time differences, we generally set up our interviews and everything for our cocktail hour, of which it is not right now, but it's certainly cocktail hour for you, sitting on aboard your vessel.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a pisser out there today, raining like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But we had 8 knots of wind, so we were out there doing some fun.
That's cool.
Good. And what's your local? What is it? Just in the just out of Annapolis, or is it part
just
of
around the corners?
Regatta? Yeah.
Yeah, just around the corners.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, all fun.
Excellent. And did you win the biscuits today?
Nope, not at all. I got 35,000 pounds, 2 air conditioners, and a gen set.
And well, you've got one sensational asymmetric 0, I believe.
Yes, we do. She was out and proud, and she's laying on the lawn getting rained on right now.
Or keeping people dry, one or the other.
If with that spinnaker, Shafe, with that spinnaker, you know, we've got the this Barkarati Sailors Lager octopus on it. If we did sort of merge with the RORC and combine the seahorse into it, how would that work? And which do you prefer, sea puss or octohorse?
Well, you know, I've listened, so I think the sea puss. I mean, keep it
Sea puss, you'll love it.
hands all over the place, right? Can you imagine a horse with 8 legs?
Yeah. Yeah, well, we've had a few horses sent to us with 8 legs. We've had a few images sent to us of that. So, it's just fun. And the other thing, before we get into the certification, Ministry of Sail, that's you, mate. What's Ministry of Sail? Are you
Now, I'm the Prime Minister of Sailing.
Okay, right.
Prime Minister, okay.
Well, nobody else took the title.
Oh, well, it's a made-up title in Australia.
No. So, well, I did spend some time in Australia. I spent a lot of time in Anagra while I was in the military.
Yep.
So the Light Horse. Spent a lot of time with the exchange program.
Right.
Did a lot of sailing there too, down on the Gold Coast. Surfed a lot because we were out of Hawaii. But Ministry of Sailing was an effort in the midst of COVID of a bunch of different pros who lost all their contracts, trying to create something for sailors by sailors. So we own it. And we think it's really important to start focusing on safety and a lot of safety discussions.
Right.
And all of that started at the St. Martin Yacht Club, right as COVID was just flaring up. We just finished that St. Martin Yacht Club. Actually, we were flying the Bark Karate flag on the Sailing Poland.
Mm.
Yes.
And that's where all of this Ministry of Sailing and things started.
Right. And so has this sort of rescue swimmer certification come out of that as an evolution of that?
Well, here's what happens. A lot of the people that are in St. Martin are actually out of Chicago that come down there. There's a direct flight from Chicago right down to St. Martin. So that's kind of where my hometown, home, my home pond is, Lake Michigan.
Right.
And it wasn't far after the Ameti accident where they just couldn't get the unfortunate sailor on board. And some of the people that were on board sailed on that boat. And some of my friends were on that boat when that happened. So we were really talking about this whole idea and this whole concept because when U.S. Sailing did the review of the incident, their recommendations came out, and they way down in the bottom, you'll hear them make a recommendation that some professional sailing teams use rescue swimmers.
Yep.
And it could have been an option at this point. And being a professional in the safety and security industry, you look for where is the certification, where is the training before you send somebody in like that. Mm. And there's none.
Right.
So that's why this is started. This is started for anybody who's in the safety industry knows before you go into a high risk operation, there should be some sort of training and where's the certification.
Right.
And so we're using all the military contacts, we're using the sailing and the pro contacts. And what we've done is put together a handbook and a certification for that out of the Ministry of Sailing.
It's a huge thing. And one of the things that's probably stands out in if you go to a yacht club and you ask 90% of the people if they've ever gotten off the boat out at sea and tried to get back on, they will say no. They will say no. Exactly. And this is a hugely important point that's really well worth talking about right now.
So
yeah.
So I was just going to say, so with that, with the proposal for this certification, is the proposal just in case you have a rescue swimmer on the boat, or are you arguing that every boat should have a designated rescue swimmer?
That's a really good question. And in the handbook, we actually have a risk assessment that talks about opportunity that would be there compared to risk. So the professionals that have this certification could do an assessment for every vessel and every team to see if the vessel might actually equate to need for one. The biggest problem that we're having is the vessels today, with 3 head sails going 37 knots downwind, you're immediately going to be out of sight of your victim. The person is in the water. Mm-hmm. All right. And so then immediately finding them. So now you're talking a situation where minute by minute, this person is losing their ability to help themselves. They might not be able to catch the rope that you even throw to them, even though they look like they're conscious. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but there's a new drowning research that's out there of a special type of drowning that we are also training inside the book on a methodology to identify that drowning and be able to send a rescue swimmer right away. So we've done the research. It's not for every boat, but we do think some of the higher performance vessels would probably have to have this type of technique.
It's interesting because my theory, I've never gone overboard offshore, but my theory was that I'd just take a piss as soon as I hit the water, because every time I take a piss in a pool, the water goes fluoro green around me. So I'm easy to spot. No.
You got to stop eating glow sticks, mate.
It's
tequila.
Yeah. So just go through the process, mate. So how you work this out? So basically you're saying you got together with a bunch of pro sailors and experts in their area. You're an expert in safety procedures from a security perspective. So you just sort of combine the knowledge of sort of a couple of different industries to create this certification.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like the America's Cup. You find the best person who can foil and you hire him to win the cup.
Bravo, by the way.
Where has that happened?
Yeah.
So if somebody else can't write the check, well, then America will, right? So what? That's the same thing. So we've consulted pararescue sailors. I mean, the best guys in the world that jump out of helicopters, the Coast Guard, all of these types of positions that do this every single day. The Navy have looked at this, and we've gone through it, and we're publishing it this week. So the book comes out for anybody to buy this week. There's going to be two. There's going to be two types of them. One's going to be a $35 US for a paper version for workbook, and another one's going to be a $50 version, and that's going to be pretty much waterproof. But it should probably be on every boat because it solely discusses, a safety ethos, a lot of great techniques just for regular MOBs. One thing we really talk about, which is important, is the drag and drown situation.
Yep.
Where if a person's tethered and they're hooked up, stuck by the stanchion, in about 4 knots of water, that person is most likely going to have their head underwater. Right. So we have a technique on that called the hook, the hoist, and the cut procedure, where you go to the problem, you hook up the tether to the halyard, you start hoisting up the halyard, and then you cut or release that lifeline to get him out of that situation.
Yep. It's interesting. Like, so one, do you cover in this book? Do you cover like recovering them back on board? Is one thing. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What else do you cover in it? Is it like picking the swimmer? Is it when to deploy a swimmer, when to not?
Yeah, yep. Absolutely. The risk assessment. So then how do you do the quick risk assessment? Basing on are we going to send a swimmer once somebody's in the water? And your shift captain, your watch captain, or your captain, or your helmsman, or whoever's in charge of the boat at the time, they have to understand the training that goes behind making that really fast risk assessment. And there's really 3 things that are going to be important to make that assessment. Number 1, do you have somebody trained on board? Mm-hmm. Number 2, do you have the proper equipment? Because you never want to cause a second victim. And the reluctance that most people have is, now you have 2 problems that are going to stay in the water. All right. But remember, whenever you go into a high-risk operation, there's always some sort of special training or mitigation that reduces that risk. All right? So we can reduce a lot of the risk through equipment. We can reduce risk with training, and we can reduce the risk with a certified individual on the boat that works as that MOB specialist. And so I think what we're really talking about is actually good for sailing because it's another specialty. If we start getting races to include this in some of the offshore as a certified rescue swimmer, now we're expanding the profession to have another specialty on board of a boat. And there's prerequisites, just like the military. Not everybody gets to go into the military, right? There's certain prerequisites that you have to do, and we're doing the exact same thing.
John, I'm just taking a look through it now, and just through all the different sections, and just for the listeners to understand the sections. Essentially, you've got the rescue swimmer, the trained team, equipment and procedures, and decision making. So a step-by-step process. Something that stood out to me going through the book, the fact you're going to have the discussion, the knowledge, whether this is implemented straight away, the fact you're going to all sit in the cockpit and have that discussion is one step in itself.
Yep.
So
absolutely right.
And I mean, for the listeners, this is well worth getting your hands on. It's and John, I take my hat off to you. You've spent a lot of time getting this set up in a very easy to read format. So it's big.
So one of the individuals that we used is one of the experts that does NASA rescue. And what we did is we set the book up with the same format that NASA Rescue used in the training of all their rescue forces. So, and so the rescue, so I think the most dangerous position in the world I would ever want to be is to be launched on the moon and maybe you come back, right?
Yeah, right.
You know, here's some TNT we're going to shove up your butt and we're going to launch you to the moon and good luck, right?
Yeah.
So we're using those guys who actually the guys on my team. He races the Bermuda race with us, so we have that type of element of expertise helping us guide us through the book and the formatting of it.
Yeah. Okay. Has there ever been any debate about procedure for single-hander or double-hander sort of stuff as part of this? It's all fully crewed at the moment, isn't it? Because I don't know. Huh?
So I think this is going to give us an opportunity to go into the double-handed conversations next and how to do different. Yeah. So that's what's nice about self-publishing.
Yep.
Is we could any minute, all right, change anything and make an update for anybody. So that's what's cool about it. But getting into the double-handed is really important. But I think the most important thing on the vessel is that safety ethos that you have. You know, your rescue swimmer will be the most qualified safety expert on the vessel, right? And so, you know, from one tack to another tack, you know, hey, our rescue halyard is this one, and it's on this line, and it's on this block. All right, here's the stopper. Yep. On the next jibe, all right, our rescue line is here. So keeping the conversation going, yep. Through every sail change, through every jibe, through every tack, that's the responsibility of the watch captain to bring that level coming in of offshore racing. Just to keep the consciousness for people up. And the other thing is, you know, we would love, and we're trying to create a sole source provider of the rescue equipment.
Right.
And we're in discussions with the possibility of designing a new vest for a rescue swimmer. All right. And so putting these pieces together are very, very important for us, so that you have a prominent spot, just like your EPIRB or your PLBs. You're going to have a prominent spot for the equipment which is needed for the rescue swimmer. And so as soon as there's an MOB, that prominent spot means every day people are walking back and forth, developing awareness of what their roles and responsibilities are for the training they've done once their rescue swimmer is trained, and then they train the crew. And so it's going to be, you know, you have that constant reminder always that's there. So when you grab that rescue swimmer bag, you have an MOB call, the swimmer of the watch, he's got, you know, he's putting the fins on. He's putting the rescue equipment on. He's putting the mask on. He's getting the helmet. Again, the helmet is probably the most underrated thing that we're not. Well, let's just put it this way. You remember like 6 or 7 years ago, people were even debating are helmets needed. But bringing anybody on board a boat, you're going to bring them next to the hull. And if you're putting somebody else overboard, you want to do the best you possibly can to protect that person. So a helmet is very, very necessary. And how you rig that helmet up with reflective gear is also going to be important.
What a lot of people probably don't realise or even think about is when this generally happens, it's going to happen in pretty serious or heinous conditions. And, you know, we've sort of all seen and been in situations, and it is something that, again, I touched on earlier, that people just don't get how hard it is to get back on the boat and how dangerous a boat is in the water when you're actually in the water.
Yeah, absolutely right. You know, I think it would take, and just remember, bringing somebody back up on board on a vessel in and of itself, if the person is unable to help themselves, it's a 3 to 4 person job to get the person back on board. And if you're in high seas, everybody's going to be taking a beating, and you could lose other people just by reaching over the boat because that body weight is below everybody else's center of gravity. So you have no leverage whatsoever to bring another person on board. And there's plenty of videos that are out there. We've all seen them on how difficult it is to pull that other person on board.
Yeah. Hey, Bice, the first thing that pops into my mind here to help John, an obvious introduction is we should introduce him to Henry Woodhouse. Like, Henry,
with the SailGP,
because he's been developing all doing all the water rescues and leads the way. He's the GBR team's designated rescue guy. Plus, just if you partnered up with Henry, just having his magnificence on the cover would just be, like a photo of Henry in sort of full stride would just be. It'd sell by the truckload, that book.
He sports a great mullet to start with. Not to mention if he had a knife in his mouth as well.
Yeah. It's the perfect image and just a truly great guy. I love the man. So it just popped into my head. The last question I have on this, Schafe, is in the Volvo we put all the crews had auto-inflate jackets except the rescue swimmers. They didn't have the auto-inflates.
Right.
So manual inflates on those. You've gone to that sort of detail?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's fast water rescue vests that are used every single day for rescue fire departments around the world for people that are stuck in fast water, right? And it's got the fall arrestor on the back, and you clip in the back so they can grab onto whoever they need to grab to, and you can relay them back. Absolutely right. Again, that's part of the discussions we're in putting a rescue vest together. Yep. That is a non-auto inflate. That you're exactly right. And streamlined. It's almost like a SailGP vest or a MOF vest that doesn't auto inflate. That's what we're looking at. Yep. With a harness built in, and then fall arrest on the back of it.
Yep. Very cool.
And just for some of the listeners out there, especially who have sailed on probably at the pointier end of the fleet, and you have your playbook on board for all your crew manoeuvres, pre-start, start, top mark, bottom mark. Basically, what you've done here, John, is put together a playbook for a few different scenarios, right?
Yeah, absolutely right.
Whether it's they're incapacitated, whether they're conscious, whatever it might be. So, and the way I've read it, whilst 99% of the time it's going to cover things off, but you can adjust and fine-tune depending on your boat. Obviously.
Absolutely right. So there's a format on there. And it comes to a lot of different things. We provide, quick briefing sheets that are in the back of it. So if you want to do a briefing, we do the modern, I would say, I would say the traditional type of diagram to maneuver to recover someone. And then we've done high-speed vessels, what that would look like. Because it could take 20 to 30 minutes maybe to turn a boat around, which could be miles. And then we've also recently added now into the discussion of what is the water temperature. There's a chart inside the final version now has a chart in it that has what is the water temperature we're racing in, and then what is the expected incapacity for a person that unable to help themselves, and then how long you have to survive. So that goes in the briefing, so people know how to prepare themselves. If in case they're in the water, there's a section on a briefing on if you are the person in the water, what the expectations are. So like the boat I'm on right now, I have, so I usually race with about 8, 6 to 2, depending on the weather. Once we reef, everyone's got vests on. All right. Every vest has a radio on. And our theory is if we have somebody in the water, we're going to want to be able to talk to that person in the water. Yeah, okay. And so what we have done, we've given, and you can buy two handheld floatable radios for $99. So it's not expensive, but you tie those onto the vest. Because we hear the stories about, well, I saw the boat, but they couldn't see me. Imagine if you could tell the person on the boat, hey, starboard, hey, come to port. I can see you. Imagine hearing that from the person in the water. Yep. So there's a lot of work we've placed into the handbook that really helps out any person, whether they're a certified rescue swimmer or not.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, where do we find it? How do we find it?
Where do you find it?
Yeah.
So you're going to find it on Lulu, and I'll send a link to you guys. But it should be up on Tuesday, and you'll have 2 versions: a $35 version and a $50 version. The 51's waterproof.
Yep.
And it's a handbook, pocket size. It's really cool.
So what's it, Lulu?
So it's a self-publishing.
Okay.
Manufacturer. So you pay Lulu. Yep. Lulu sends it to you after they print it. So like what it does though. I'm making it friendly for the sailor. All right. So you just pay your credit card and it goes to you. So I'm not printing 1,000. I'm not printing 10,000. Currently, because we want to make it available for sailors, we think the price is good.
Yep.
They pay. We're hardly making any money. We're just getting it out there.
Yeah, good man.
All right. You buy one and it gets shipped to you. All right. You buy two, it gets shipped to you personally. And then there's a back door that goes into my checking account.
Yep.
Hey,
No.
John.
Yeah.
Just final question from me. The version I have, page 117, acknowledgements. This handbook would not be possible without the generous professional support and editorial assistance of, and it goes through a whole bunch of players, actually a lot that we've interviewed on this show. Caroline Brower, Dee Kafari, Brian Carlin, Brett Perry, if you know him. And going down the list, Jordan Spencer. Next point, Jordan Spencer's massive head. I really hope that's staying in the book.
Fantastic.
It's actually on page 118.
And
It's its own
119
page.
and
It's its own
120.
page.
That's absolutely right. Hey, let me just finish with this for you guys. All right. There's one thing I really want to point out. So we've done a lot of research into this as well.
Yep.
And there's some new research on drowning and understanding what's called the instinctive drowning response, or what's called IDR.
Right.
All right. So the U.S. Coast Guard has put a lot of research into doing this. All right. So what an IDR drowning is, there's really 5 signs of that. So the person who's in the water, even if they have a vest on, one of the signs is their body is vertical, up, they're not floating, horizontal, they're vertical up and down the body.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is they have an inability to call for help. Their arms might be out on their sides, like trying to push down in the water, and they can't move their arms. Their mouth is below the water, so they're doing one of these things. All right. And they can't wave or move for help. So there's 5 steps to go into there. But the number one thing on an IDR type of drowning is they might be looking directly at you. And you might be talking to them, but they don't have the ability to wipe water out of their eyes or move hair out of their eyes. When you see a person who is like that, whether they have a vest on or not, you immediately, if you have a trained rescue swimmer on board, need to deploy, because you have about a minute to 30 seconds to never find that person again. Mm-hmm. So it's a new research on this type of drowning. And we actually put together a little diagram in there, and we train on understanding what this type of IDR drowning is, which is the instinctive drowning response. That a person psychologically is in this phase that if they move a muscle, all right, they're in a panic, they just can't do it. Wow. All right, they won't do it. They won't be able to speak to you or talk to you. But the key in that one is, you know, when you go in the water, right? You jump into a pool. What's the first thing you do when your head comes out of the water? Anybody? What's the first thing you do?
Yeah, wipe your eyes.
You wipe the water. You wipe the water out of your eyes. Remove the hair out of your eyes. I don't care who you are, because that's annoying, right? It's instinctive almost, right? So if a person can't do that, you might throw them a line. They may not be able to grab it. They will not grab it at all. So I think that's a really important point. And that came off the Ameti investigation, that was a trigger for us to look into the Coast Guard's response on that and their research. And so I think it's very important for every soldier. Look at me talk. Every
sailor.
Every sailor.
Interesting stuff, mate. Look, good on you. That's that's high praise from in Australia. Good on you, mate. Well done. You've done wonders. Hopefully, somebody lives.
Sailors. Take the team.
Yeah. But people, this could save lives, and that's massive,
Just moving forward, sorry, John. Just moving forward. So obviously, this is going to needs to be needs to be sort of brought up with various councils, clubs, and people who at the organisation level. What's the general response from US Sailing, from places like Australian Sailing and those sort of things, where it should actually be implemented properly and be made a force?
So I'm talking to. I've been in discussions with U.S. Sailing. I mean, the moment they recommended it is the moment they handcuffed them to some sort of certification and solution. I mean, that's what safety is.
Yes.
And so we're in those discussions with them about that right now. So that's really good. So I've generated a lot of possibilities for training to happen really, really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it's very favorable for the training sailors that are out there. They're keeping most of the money, and we're just keeping on this side the admin stuff. It's very, very favorable to become a certified trainer. But what we need is this. We need people to get certified. If you're a rescue swimmer already from a military, we have an option for you that we will recognize that. All right. And we will get you certification. We have an option for that for different associations. If you have the training from the military, the police, the fire rescue as a rescue swimmer, we will honor that. All right. With and then this book will help that. The other thing is, it's the clubs. It's the sponsors of doing the racing. Just like a medical professional as a separate profession is required on some vessels or medical training or some sort of certification, we believe this should be right alongside of that.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, the point being is that, this needs to be taken seriously. The second point is, let's look back to 1998, Sydney to Hobart, for example. Everything before that was, we're just going sailing. We're going to go and do a race and we'll see you at Hobart and have a beer. 1998, obviously, massive year for this whole safety sort of push. And what came out of that, obviously, was the sea survival and safety course, which is now 50% of your crew have to have on board. Now, out of people in Australia, it's probably getting close to 100% of people have that course. Do you see this becoming that level? And well, I see this becoming that level, and I see the importance of this. Is the take-up being taken seriously is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I think it is, because that's a prerequisite to go through the certification. You have to have the safety at sea, of course.
Yep.
So you have to have so that's where we're going, and you have to have we're using the Sydney Hobart prerequisites for the sailors to be on board. We're using the same thing. We think that's a really good guideline. So I like to point to other certifications. I like to point to other standards instead of creating my own standards. But the certification for the rescue swimmer, it does two things. Number one, we're professionally handling a mitigation problem, right? The way you do in all the other safety industries, correct? We're setting a standard, number one. But what that does is it also, as sailors, because it's sailors that are doing it, right? Here's what's important. Sailors are writing this, all right? It stops the other people that say, hey, we saw these people do this, so we're going to try it on their own. So it stops them saying, hey, there's a methodology. If you want to do this, talk to your local pros. They can point you into the certification process on how to do this. That's what's really important. We can save lives not only by having the certified people ready to go, but we can save lives by putting a standard together to stop people from going when they may have the best intentions at heart. All right. But their equipment might not be ready. The crew might not be ready. And then you have a problem.
Yep. There you go.
Cool.
You're muted.
Who's muted?
No, sorry. I was just going to say, bravo, mate. This is good, and we'll make sure we get all the links out for everyone to check it out with Lulu and the various things. But I have read it through the whole thing, and it's, as I said, hats off.
All right. So here's what I'll do. All right. Because I love you guys so much. If you just email me at sail@Ministry of Sailing, sailors, honestly, email me the first 100 that email me. I will send them a PDF copy that they can have on their phone. I swear to God, that's how much I believe in this program. This is not about the Ministry of Sailing making money. We got lucky with the name Ministry of Sailing, by the way.
Love it.
It's such a unique name, and I'm not sure if we were intoxicated or not, but when you search it on Google,
Can't remember.
It comes up number one, and we don't pay anything for that.
Yeah. Baccarati's the same, mate. When we did it, you've got to find two words that don't fit together normally.
Well, you don't remember if we were drunk when we did it?
I remember.
Hey, I really appreciate you guys.
I know. Our pleasure,
cheers.
mate. We appreciate what you're doing.
Hey, thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, Shaf.
All right. Awesome. Well, so sale at ministryofsailing.com.
Yeah. It's SAIL for the sailors that, I'm not selling you anything. It's that sale, not sale.
So SAIL at ministryofsailing.com. Get in quick and get yourself a copy of this directly from the man himself. Good on you. Take it on. Well done, John.
All right, guys. Hey, appreciate it. Stay safe.
Bit of passion from that young man. He's trying to save lives, and I can't believe he's going to give 100 free ones away. So for Baccarati listeners, that guy he loves our show, doesn't he?
Well, he's going for a listener of the year, and this may just put him over the edge.
Things you do, eh? Things you do.
Himself.
Yeah, get that, listeners. It doesn't take much, but we're open to bribery.
It takes a code zero and a bunch of other stuff. No, he's definitely dedicated to the cause. I think what the one of the big points that I take out of it, and I think I touched on it earlier, was that the majority of people don't think about this stuff. They don't. It's all, if it happens, we'll sort it out. And I think it's getting on the front, and we've all been there.
No, I just got to front foot it and have the discussion. That
exactly
just that
right.
Discussion piece in itself is one step closer. So,
yep, exactly.
Bravo.
So, if you are serious offshore sailor, get onto it. Get hold of this little booklet and take it seriously. There you go.
Cool.
I like it.
Right, Jack Lloyd, Listener of the Week, boys. I've put down two nominations. One is Mr. Phil Yeomans, who's a well-known Australian identity in sailing and works his ass off, and race officer. He's been involved for a long time. We were talking last week about smaller boats going offshore, and his thought was that there's the old jog scene boats, the old jog boats.
The gingerbread man,
which is up on the hard at up on the hard at Bullets right now. It's in good condition.
There's plenty of boats out there like old IOR quarter tonners, the Spar 727s, fixed keel Sonata 8s, some half tonners, all that sort of stuff. You could get them running, bit of Cat 4 gear on, and you'd have a whole bunch of boats that were capable of going offshore. I like that idea. He was thinking that is a way to get people back on the water and plug the hole of smaller offshore boats. What do you guys think of that?
A lot, actually. Yeah.
I'm yet to meet Phil.
Have you not?
But from all reports, he sounds like a pretty decent bloke.
Yep.
The only issue I have here, as you progress through your sailing stewardship, now probably the smallest boat you go is on a 30-footer. And then you go on a 40-footer, you say, I'm not going back to a 30-footer. Then you go on a 50-footer, I'm not going back to a 40-footer. You go on a 60. So it's a big jump back. But if it gets the push, gets more people out there, all for it.
I think the biggest topic which is going around now is the expense of things these days in general. And as I said just then, Gingerbread Man is up on the hard here in Sydney, and it's it's an old boat, but it was that boat changed.
Legend.
Oh yes, it changed. It actually was. I was speaking to someone about it. They actually said it was one of the boats that actually caused the demise of JOG.
Yep.
Because it was the onset of carbon, onset of Kevlar, onset of expenses that were being put into boat building. So it automatically wiped the Endeavours and the Lightnings and those boats that were rated in JOG. But what they're saying now is that this type of boat needs to come back into play, because there are people who have these boats or people that have only got the money for this type of boat, and to get on the water, go sailing. This particular class is well worth talking about.
So that was one nomination. The other was Dominic Keane. He's a young Laser 6 junior sailor from Ohio.
Ilka, thank you very much.
Ilka 6, sorry. Boys, I've got to say, just before I go on with Dom's letter, it is so wet here. There's so much moisture in the air. My computer has got a great big watermark in it, and I can only see like a third of my screen at the moment. It's insane. He came through. He loves the show, blah blah blah, which is fantastic, and loves the approach we're taking. The thing I loved about Dom is he gave back. He gave us a whole list of names of people he wants to hear from that are US based. Immense amount of respect for that, because obviously we don't know everybody in the world of sailing.
Nearly everybody, but not everybody.
Yeah, and he gave us some great names and suggestions. And Dom, we absolutely will talk to those people and try and get them on the show, because we try and cover. Obviously, we tend to be a little more Aussie centric, but we try and do as many people as we can in the world. So super appreciative. I don't know who's going to win, unless you guys have any other nominations.
Well, can I put forward a notion?
Yep.
Why don't we do a duel? Because they're both worthy.
Both worthy.
Only issue.
What's that?
Not sure we have two merchandise packs that may or may not make it.
Right. So for all those people who've received the merchandise pack, could you please send it?
Send it back.
It's like my daughter's Wonder Book. They get once every 3 months that you got to fill in 2 pages. You just got to bring it back at the end of the week with some photos in it.
All right. Well, congratulations to both those guys, Dom and Phil.
Yep.
Obviously, I know Phil extremely well.
Good feedback.
Yeah. Good work.
Awesome.
Love your work.
It's hot time with Bice.
It's too early for that.
I've actually got that as my alarm now. Not just get out of bed.
Your poor wife. Your poor wife.
I've just got visions of Jackass, the guy with the track pants.
Yeah, exactly.
With the G-string dancing around.
Yeah, I generally don't go to bed in my G-string, but anyway.
Yeah.
All right, gents. Covering off all over the joint at the moment.
Yep.
So first of all, we've seen quite a bit of, our friend Richard Gladwell reported on Chase Zero on the Waitemata Harbour this week, and basically where that project is at, as well as where is the World Land Speed Record project, of which Glenn Ashby is now back in NZ after a hiatus of 10 months, not being there. To basically take that on, and that will be being launched this week, I believe, of which there will be more pictures, because currently it's a bit of a media blackout zone in regards to that. So I'm look forward to seeing that. But Chase Zero, get this, and we've gone through this before, but just a reminder, top speed 50 knots, cruises at 30. And I saw some commentary from Curly, their chase boat driver. In any conditions, it's pretty much doing 30 knots.
It's awesome.
Cross swell, cross breeze, and 30 knots you can go for 5.5 hours.
Yep.
On 30 litres of hydrogen.
Wow. Yep.
Only
Phenomenal.
issue
Phenomenal.
comes at a cost of 1.2 million euros.
Yeah.
But this is exactly what is needed, and it it needs to be written in rules that these sorts of boats need to be used,
Developed,
to push the designers, to push the actual
manufacturers,
community, the manufacturers, to make these boats accessible, or make this technology accessible and cheaper. And that is a massive trickle down.
Absolutely. Well, I kind of liken it to the old beta video recorder back in the late or early 80s. The price of those things, through the roof. But now, that's the deal. We've got to get these things to that level, don't we?
Yep.
Well, I can tell you for a fact that, through my real job, that there's a huge investment in
this stuff's happening. Yep.
Hydrogen on a global scale. Every country's looking at it in a big way. So it's sort of been dicked around for a while, but now it's
serious.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's government's throwing a massive piece of energy at it. So
yep.
I didn't mean to do the energy hydrogen joke, but there you go. So,
good one.
Sorry.
You're not even a dad. That's fantastic.
Where did you learn that skill?
I don't know.
Rightio. Next
move
point,
on.
boys.
Yep.
Our mates, the Worrell 1000. Aussies seemingly in front. They've got a lay-day at the moment, currently a bit less than 2 hours ahead of the fleet. Did you capture any images this week of the Worrell 1000 of them leaving that shore?
That start. I've just shared it on Facebook for everyone, so I saved it until we're about to publish. But it was an incredible looking start. It's not often you see everyone starting on port.
Correct. Port tack start.
That's right. But no, the US boat just pointing. That was heading to the moon. That boat, like it's rough.
I just got onto Facebook.
So basically, Team Australia winning, Team Fast Forward Composites second, and Team Rocket 88 third. So the split in the moment, Team Australia sitting on 42 and a half hours, and Team Netherlands around 62 hours.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's obviously adding all the times together. But how's one of the legs here? I see was upwards of 12 hours.
Yeah.
It's a big, long time on a cat, isn't it?
Long time on a cat.
Some boats, check this one though, Jacksonville to Tybee, 19 hours.
That's a longer time on a boat.
Yeah, of course, there may have come in for a bit of respite or something like that, but which I did read through. But
I'm just looking at this picture.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what they're worried about. It's not much different to Henley.
Yeah, it's a lot of Henley.
Although, for the listeners who don't know, Henley Beach, South Australia, it's got a double beach break, and we grew up there. What are they worried about?
Yeah, it looks exactly like that. Exactly like that.
Even the guy walking past there, that's sort of what happens.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, so now we go into our mockers, boys. For Tuning Bermuda's brothers race, the Guarda Bermuda's 1000. I don't know why they call it the 1000 because it's a 1,200 mile race.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, anyway, maybe just rolls off the tongue a little better.
Yeah.
But at the time of publishing, probably everyone would have finished the race that they do.
Maybe one boat's still out there, I'd say.
The podium, Pevia in first, Charal second, Bureau Valley in third, which is probably gets my vote for performance.
Yes.
Best performance.
Yep.
Notable outs was Length Out and Coram throughout the race, just a bit of gear failure and what have you. But, successful. Geez, the mockers are coming.
They are.
Well, they have been for some time, but very successful.
Yeah.
Not to mention, boys, PRB on the water this week.
Yeah. How quick did they get a rig up on that thing? Boom, done.
Yeah. It looks fantastic. So best of luck to Kev and all his team there. But will be a force to be reckoned with.
It's a good year for Mocha. Obviously, the highlight of the year, the Route de Rhum. So Destination Guadeloupe. So yeah, we're fans of this stuff. Great work. And the season has kicked off. A bunch more races to come. But yeah, the Route de Rhum for this year is the major one.
Here. That's about me as far as my key topics. But there are still a few key topics out there, gents. None more so than SailGP.
So at the time of recording, day one, the first day, literally has just happened. Obviously, it's very early in the morning as we're recording this for Australian time because we wanted to make life easy for Schafer, who's based in the US. Have you boys seen anything, heard anything on the day one?
Negative.
I'll give you this one.
I know.
Let's go down from the top. Shall we start at the bottom, actually?
BP, see if you can predict. Give us BP. Stop looking it up, BP. You've looked it up.
All right. The prediction without. No, I haven't got it. Look.
Okay, who's placed first?
I only got to the search engine page.
Okay, who's placed first? BP.
Who is placed first? Well, by the way you're doing this, it's obviously not normal. So Canada. Are they or are they not? I don't know.
Yes.
Yes. All right, back to where I was going.
Yeah.
I
right,
guess
go.
that right, really?
Ninth
Good on me.
position, Switzerland. 8th, Spain. This is after day one, remember, listeners. 7th, New Zealand. 6th, Denmark. 5, US. 4, France. Good movers there. 3, Australia. 2, Great Britain. 1, Phil Robertson-led Canadian team.
Wow. How good is that? And smashing the starts too, Philly boy. He
probably, well, he's still got that little tidbit that little coaching tip.
That's right. He's just using he was using that coaching tip. I'm sure he really cares about what we told him. So congratulations, the Northern Australians, as we've started referring to the Canadians, because they're culturally very similar. So that's cool.
Australia.
That's cool, isn't it? I think we're all pretty happy for them.
Absolutely.
Ecstatic is the truth. I mean, you look how hard it is. The Swiss team is in last, and the other new team is in first. That's quite incredible. So we've bookended the fleet with new boats. The Canadian team is on the Japanese boat. Has Nathan Outridge been sailing around on a very fast boat? Because they clearly had speed. If you look at what happened, that Swiss boat, the Canadian boat was fast. It was fast. I think the flight controller was from Team Japan, by the way, on Canada. I think, I'm not certain, but just as
Copy.
you know,
Copy.
yeah. So we're happy about that. Although I've got some news. What that is? Did you guys see the call out by Nath at the press conference, just talking about how they need sponsorship?
I didn't see that. I've seen some commentary on it.
Yep.
I didn't see the actual press conference.
Yep. So Nath at the press conference just talked about how he was asked about not being able to race and how he feels about it, and he said, "Well, it's a commercial decision. They don't have backers," and he basically called out for it. It was shared by Bo, his brother. The rumour I've heard, and basically they're under extreme pressure. They've got 3 races before they've got the chance to get their boat back. I have been told that there's a fully funded German team ready to go, and if they don't find their money within that time frame, the licence is being transferred to Germany. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but I've done it. So the official unofficial news from Baccarati. So if you're a fan of Japan, and I know that there's a lot of people out there with Japanese surnames that are hunting hard now because it's sparked some action.
Good.
Well, good. Yeah. And let's hope. Well, one, the fact there's teams lining up is fantastic.
Yep. 2,
we still want Nathan Team Japan to be out there, so hopefully they can find the funds.
Yep. We also got an email from Wilbur Wilson. I don't know if any of this is true, but he reckons he's been told. I don't know if any of this is true. That he reckons that the Australian team winning the last 2 years, that Larry's kept the prize money in his pocket as part of, because they haven't been able to get commercial funding themselves in a huge level, and so that's been used by. It's stayed. The prize money hasn't been paid out. I don't think that's
so.
True.
That big novelty check, you can't take that to the bank.
Yeah, no, you can't take those to the bank.
And the houses, but they just and the houses and the boats that have been bought. I mean,
I find that hard to believe, given I know that some of the sailors have spent some of the money. So, but it's an interesting theory. So throw it out there. Crazy times for sailing.
It is.
The only things I want to just mention is that this week the Finn Gold Cup and Silver Cup starts today, basically. So if you're into the Finn class, World Champs, that's on. And the Ilka Laser 7 Men's World Champs are often on and away in Mexico later on this week starting. So World Champs starting for the worst name in sailing, Ilka. sevens. Yeah.
Third row, second floor at IKEA.
Aisle,
Pick one up.
aisle 22.
But you got to put it together with a 3 mil Allen key.
Yeah.
Very
Cool.
good. Righto.
Cool.
Rightio, boys. Been a pleasure.
Good on you. Good to catch up, lads.
Cool.
Thank you, listeners. See you soon.
Cheers.
How are you always ready on that guitar beat?
Just because it's just within
Night or day?
tonight or day.
Rightio, boys.
Take me where the